Good evening and welcome to UPfront. Today, we shine the spotlight on the biggest and the flagship program of the Akufo-Addo administration a few months into its implementation. I'm talking about the free senior high school education program. Our concentration really will be on whether the promised standard has been delivered and whether we can see the blots and fill in the blank spaces and where are the major gaps so that we can actually fix the problem before we get into a bigger issue. We sure should be bringing you some highlights of what's been happening across the country. Now, in the course of this week, the JoyNews agenda has been focusing on this particular program. First, we went to the Upper West region, specifically in Kaleo, to find out how the students of the Kaleo Senior High School are coping under the circumstances of the free senior high school program. Rafiq Salam has this report.
Prior to the implementation of the free SHS program, Kaleo Senior High Technical School has a student population of 846. 664 fresh students were placed at the school by the computerized selection placement system for the free SHS program. 606 students, however, turn up and are currently pursuing various courses at the school. Since the arrival of the students for the program, authorities at the school have to deal with several challenges ranging from inadequate infrastructure to the quality of food provided at the school. Akwimato Jamila and many of her mates have complained about the quality of the food prepared from the kitchen.
Sometimes the way they always do the food is not always good at all. They'll cook rice, tease you see it, you think it's even porridge. But we have to manage. The food is very poor and we are suffering here. Another first-year student of General Arts, Ibrahim Jara, recounts how the quality of the food is affecting the health of the students.
Every day they used to send people to hospital. And one of the cause is the food, because we are not used to the environment. If we came here there is no good food for us to eat. Every day they used to send people even in the night, they used to send people. One of the effects is just like that.
It is some few minutes past 11 a.m. Caterers are busily preparing yam with bean stew for lunch under strict supervision of the school's matron, Hawa Batong. They are slicing yam for cooking while the bean stew is on fire and allowed to simmer. Matron of Kaleo Senior High Technical School, Hawa Batong, refuted the assertion of the students that the food prepared from her kitchen is not of good quality.
With this free education concern, this time I can say we are very grateful. For example, when this free education started, we take eggs, we take wache with eggs, we take yam with beans, stew, palava sauce with mackerel sauce, and this is very amazing. We never expected this, so we are very grateful to that. And the students are happy. Anytime I want to say change, they say, no, madam, maintain it. So we are very grateful to the government.
Headmistress of the school, Pogna Patricia Jere, spoke about the initial challenges they encountered with the food suppliers.
As at now, though I have received some foods from my supplier, but some schools have not received food as at now. Even the way the food is coming in this. So if we had come together to talk about the food, we'll see how we can repackage these foods and then things will go on well. Because since the policy took over, since the Form 1s came, for the 8 weeks, we were using the continued students' food. We asked the suppliers to bring. We were using to feed them. But now that their food has come, and we are now blending them to see how we are feeding them as according to the national menu they have drawn for all the schools.
Government released 20% of funds to the public senior high schools in the country running the free SHS program. Kaleo Senior High Technical School received an amount of 80,000 Ghana cedis in that regard. Headmasters and headmistresses are afraid to use the money because they came without guidelines. Patricia Jire again.
It's 80,000 is in my coffers, but now it's in my bank account. But there's some civil war in my head. As what is this money, the 20%? It's not on white paper for us. What are we using it for? Some say we're using it for perishable goods. perishable goods are relative. What are they if they're on paper for us to follow so that we might not deviate? I think it will help us. Because everybody now, including me, I'm even afraid to touch that money. Because it is not spelled out. It's only hearsay that this money is for perishable goods. And perishable goods are relative. Probably if we could come to terms, they should put it on white paper like the guidelines for the free education they have put on for us to look at. It's guiding us very well. So if this 20% expenditure could be put on paper to guide the heads, I think we'll be very grateful.
So you have your money in your account, but you have no...
I'm afraid to touch it. When they say perishable goods, I know some of the perishable goods, but I'm afraid to touch it. Just as other heads that are afraid to touch it.
Students of the Keleo Senior High Technical School said they are waiting with bated breath for government to fix the challenges.
We are just pleading, because if we don't have something you want to plead, even if he delay, but we don't want him to delay much. We will learn that it's free education. So if everything is free, we must study free too.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam, Keleo.
So you had my colleague Rafiq Salam, and with that particular report, a single school, the challenges, the successes, and what's like the bright spots in the implementation of this particular flagship free SHS program. Now, we're coming back into the studio. I'll take you to other parts of the country. I'll give you a panoramic view of what the situation is like on the grounds too. But my guest is seated. Dr. Osei Yawaduchum is actually the Deputy Minister of Education in charge of, I can reduce the entire secondary education sector to free SHS and say they're in charge of free SHS. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you, my brother.
I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
I mean, you're not as busy as you used to be when this program started. So how is the office nowadays?
You gave me a break, and I appreciate that.
We wanted to see what was on the ground.
You gave me a break.
Happening anyway.
You gave me a break, and I really appreciate that. It's been wonderful sitting back and now getting the opportunity to do some visits. I've gone to some schools myself.
Okay, interesting.
To have a first-hand view of what is happening, and I. First of all, I really want to commend the media.
Okay.
For the laser beam focus that you've placed on secondary education. It is this, as a result of this laser beam kind of focus, that we are hearing all these stories. Some of these stories have been there for years, but it was not certainly news, and it wasn't newsworthy those many years. And now we are confronting it, and I really applaud the media. The reports that we are getting, sometimes I've sent the troop out into the field, but I also watch JoyNews to see what's going on out there, because I know that I'm also going to get some credible reports from you. So I really want to commend you for the support in highlighting some of the issues that are happening. We were not oblivious of the fact that some of these things were going to occur.
Okay.
We were not oblivious to the fact that in some schools, they may have even underestimated their own challenges when they told us that give me 600 students or give me 400 students and give me 500 students. Because when you go to some schools where they were always not getting students, this was a wonderful, it's a feel good. If you're an educator, educationist, one of the things that you love is to see your numbers grow, especially when you're a small school. Okay. So there were schools that were in excitement when they saw the students coming in. And invariably, sometimes we kind of overlooked that, okay, with 600 students, how are you going to adjust yourself to meet their needs? So these issues are coming, and we are addressing them one by one. Sometimes you have a fix where you look at two schools and you're able to move students from one school to the other, and then you fix the problem. There are times when you have to look at how do I look at medium term, and the Minister of Education is confronting that. Just 2 weeks ago, there was a tender in the Lily Graphic, and we are building more facilities in some flash points where we know that if we don't do that now, next year we're going to have a major problem. So we're looking at that. But we're also looking at schools where facilities have been abandoned under the GET Fund, for example. We've called in contractors, they are working like crazy. In Accra Girls have a beautiful, huge dormitory block. The contractor is on task right now, making sure that we can complete it. So West African Senior High School, for example, and there are a number of places around the country where we saw that, okay, if we could focus on this project and do it within the next 2-3 weeks, we'll be able to ease the congestion problem in some of the dorms. So you have these instances where you can really do a quick fix by concentrating on a building that's under construction and making sure that you finish the construction in a timely fashion to ease that. But we don't have those quick fixes across the country.
Of course, you can't actually put up a building in days.
So there are some places where we are just saying, you know what, I can solve this. For example, food supply, we can fix it right away.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
But we may not be able to decongest your body in a day or two or in a month. But we have to make sure that you have another dorm building. And that's what we did for VAPO in the Volta region, for example. I visited the school and they said, hey, we have a congestion problem. The good news was I went there on Saturday and we're making decisions the week after.
Okay.
And within 3 days, 4 days, a new dorm was given to them. Fiasimai, for example, in the Western region, where they came to us and it was like, guys, if you don't give us a new dining hall, we are in crisis. We can use it for 6 months and maybe 1 year, but next year there'll be a huge crisis. And we're in the middle of allocation and say, okay, here, a new dining hall, and they're going to get a new dining hall. So we are looking at situations where we can strategically solve some of the problem and preempt a major problem that could happen next year. And we are looking at those things that we need to fix now in order to ensure that we can really give the students an environment, a conducive environment to sleep or conducive environment to learn. Because at the end of the day, we believe in access, we believe in ensuring that these students will be in schools, but we cannot sacrifice quality.
Very much so. And you heard Dr. Osei Aduchum, who is actually, he's a member of parliament too, in case you didn't know. Yes, he replaced Simon Osei-Mensah,
the regional minister.
The regional minister in the Ashanti region now. So you sure should know about his background. But it's interesting to get to know the appraisal you give of what's happening on the grounds now. Now, let's start from the bottom, the top up. So far, as we speak, how many students are being enrolled?
We are on the ground now, reconciling figures. We went to, I think we did 50% of the schools in a swoop, and we are doing the others because we think we need to make sure that we reconcile the figures before we say that these are the numbers that we have.
I'm confused. I mean,
what we are saying is this. There were a number of students who were placed.
Yeah.
Out of that, about 404,000 were placed.
Okay.
Out of that, various schools went through the enrollment process where you get your prospectus, you come back, you enroll, they put your enrollment in our system, and then we see it in Accra.
Okay.
There were some schools in locations where internet access, even though we gave them 2 modems, were not that forthcoming. And we had situations where they said, okay, we have to go to the nearest town to catch the Wi-Fi and be able to send you the data. So what we decided to do was to give those schools some more space. So as of now, if you go to the schools where internet is readily available, the figures they have align with ours.
Okay.
If you go to places where internet access is a problem, we are finding so we are sending people out to really make sure we can reconcile the figures so that we can have we can know the actual case in their seats in all schools.
I get you, but my only confusion was you sending people out there. I mean, every district has a district director of education. Every region has a regional director. The headmasters are in charge of the schools.
They form teams.
Yes, so why don't you then let the information flow in that direction? Now, I'm thinking it's going to take days or even minutes to do this. It wouldn't require
when you look at
bottom-down approach.
I like that analysis, but monitoring and evaluation.
Yes.
You always want to make sure that your staff is involved. The Free Senior High School Secretariat, because they go with their laptops.
The Secretariat is still there?
Oh, yes, of course.
I thought you were by now disbanded it.
Of course not.
You have started the program. The program is running. What is the need in having a specific secretariat when you already had a secondary education unit already?
My brother.
Yes.
That's a very interesting discussion to have.
It's interesting to know because we are paying extra people to do jobs when they have actually started.
I like that. I like that. But you see, we are fusing the secretariat with the scholarship secretariat.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. So those groups is being fused now because as you finish placement, you go to enrollment and then you go to the funding administration.
Okay.
And the monitoring and evaluation that comes with it to ensure that there are no leakages.
I get you.
So the secretariat we are actually strengthening it together, fused into the scholarship secretariat in such a way that, because you see, the Northern Scholarship, for example, Free Senior High School has absorbed the entire first year. So in about 2 years, after the third year, there will be no Northern Scholarship Secretariat.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Everything. So that's why it's critical for us to fuse the Scholarship Secretariat.
Was there
the
a progressively free secretariat?
Not that I know of.
Was there a secondary education improvement unit?
SIP.
Yes, when SIP was there, was there a unit there?
Very interesting. The way SIP was, I can spend days talking to you about SIP because I love it. Because the World Bank, together with the previous government, the NDC government, came up with a very innovative idea of turning around secondary schools that are failing.
Yeah.
That is what brought into focus secondary education improvement project. And I think the NDC did a fantastic job saying that, hey, our schools are failing and we need to address the challenges. Can you believe that in a number of schools, you'll be shocked to know that we have 0% pass on the WASI?
WASI?
Yes.
Senior high schools?
Yes.
In this
A1
republic?
to C6. 0%. That means if they have 100 students taking the exams,
all of them
nobody is able to move on to tertiary.
That's interesting.
Nobody. So when the NDC and World Bank came together and said we have to do this, and they also said, okay, let's build 23 schools as part of this whole improvement thing. But when I was leaving there, my minister gave me the opportunity to renegotiate and bring in some additional funding with the World Bank. And one of the things I was seeing that was interesting
so
was
we are seeking to extend the secondary education improvement program.
Very critical.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because we did not attain the intended goals of the improvement that was envisaged under the first phase of it, because
I don't seek to put this on the back burner, but I want us to move in a systematic way.
You brought the SIP, right?
Yes, I know.
Yeah, so next time, don't bring in the
only question I asked about the secondary education improvement project is whether it has a secretariat in the Ministry of Education.
Yeah, we have a coordinator, and the whole project is coordinated.
Individual.
Yes, coordinate with some staff, coordinated through the Ghana Education Service. It's a joint effort between GS and the Ministry of Education.
Why GS?
Ghana Education Service. They are the service delivery. They are the service delivery arm of the K through 12, or the basic education.
Yes,
plus
but
secondary.
the secondary education program is not a basic part. It's not part
No,
of
no,
the basic system.
It's what I'm saying. They are the basic plus secondary. Right?
Oh, okay, they are.
So, they handle K, kindergarten, primary, junior high, and secondary, GS.
Okay, so
they are the service delivery. They are the ones who supervise all the schools.
I get your
Ministry
point.
of Education is in charge of policy to make sure the schools are run well.
I get your point.
And supervision. Yes.
So now I wanted to be clear on what you were doing with this stuff across the country. So they are collecting data basically, but we know the number of senior high schools which are in current operation. How many are there?
Let me tell you, that's one interesting question too. We currently have had a wonderful opportunity of documenting everything. There was recently...
there has always been documentation of everything.
I
have been a consumer of the ME's data for God knows how long.
The ME's data.
Yes, I have been consuming that for a very long time.
Very interesting
so
database.
It's not a recent, what they call it, development that you came to do.
The Chronicle had a front page about a senior high school, community senior high school, that they thought was public, that was not public, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So the ME's data always capture the private. Together with
the public. Yeah.
So invariably, that is where the confusion comes about.
I get you.
So people go on the ME's data and they see all the senior high schools and they say that it's all public. Okay. So if you look at this year, about 670 schools that we're placing students in. But you also have to know that within, from next year, new schools will come online. Some of the community schools may be completed, may come online. But if you look at the placement, that begins the process where you know that these are the schools that I have. These are the schools that I'm placing our students in. And there are some schools that may be community schools, but they are not public schools. So if you use ME's data, you really have to be a critical consumer in making sure that which schools are public schools.
Of course.
And because there are some community schools that become absorbed.
I get your point.
Yeah.
The question I was asking was pretty simple. How many senior high schools do we have today?
I'm saying that one we place students 670, maybe a few more but I'll tell you 670 plus.
How many senior high schools do we have today?
670 is the one we place students in.
No, that's not the answer to my question. How many senior high schools?
670 is the one we place students in. I can get 670.
When you say you place students in schools,
you see,
there's a presumption that some of the schools wouldn't have students. Is that what you're saying?
Of course, because see, there are schools that may
because
have.
I seek to segregate this particular information this way, I want to know the number, then I'll get to know the ones that you have actually placed students in.
I'll get you the data. I'll get you specific data. I don't want to give you something I come back and say, hey, that's why you want me to be specific. I'll get you the data. Data is always available.
I get your point.
Why do I have to sit here and say this arithmetic?
Yes.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's this. I'll have to check. I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Because there were some schools that were community schools, right? That are day schools, for example, that we thought, hey, this is a school that the CSS people said they could place students in. At a point, we said, no, the school is not ready. Like Samra Boy. So that's why I'm very careful with the number.
That's why I also wanted to get the entire number, that we separate the ones that you put students in.
You put it on your website, the whole world will see.
I get your point.
But Samra Boy, for example, was on the list. And then we sent people out and said, nope, Samra Boy is not ready to enroll students. So we had to pull back immediately. So all that I'm saying is this. Let me get you the specific one so that I don't sit here and someone say, oh, the Free Senior High School, as you guys call, minister came here and told us this. No. And then you go around and do your fact check.
Okay.
So don't set me up for a fact check failure.
No. Okay. I'll desist from that. Okay. Very much so. But let me get this part also clarified. So the private schools, out of the 670, do we know the number which are private schools, or you never placed any students in a private school?
No, we didn't place.
We didn't at all.
No.
Even after all the discussions, we need to be part of it. After all the conversations about having to get them on board.
Yeah. Look at it this way. If you go to primary schools, right, to junior high school that are private, how do they get their students?
The people in the localities choose them because of how the students perform in the schools. Yeah,
it's private.
Yeah, because they prefer them.
Yeah, of course.
But Doc, there's a difference. The private senior high schools, they are not of the standards, or cannot be the same as some of the public senior high schools.
We are making a mistake here.
No.
And I really want to make sure that
I'm here to see a private senior high school that's of the stature of Achimota School.
Galaxy. And I don't own shares in it. I don't own shares in Galaxy.
I get your point, but really,
Ghana International School. Come on. It's what?
It's a private school.
No, it's a private school.
With a great respect.
It's a private school.
The ones who are complaining out there, Ghana was not part of it.
We make a mistake. You see, Ghana has a unique education system.
Yeah.
A unique education system where you have 2 tiers of private. Right?
Yeah.
You have private schools that are high performing and nobody even consider them as part of the school system in the
which
country.
are sometimes even run curriculum that's not in Ghana.
Of course.
They don't care about the ones they are doing international baccalaureate and the other ones.
That is it. Yeah. Those are private. And people choose to go there.
The ordinary person can't pay for that.
And then you see the interesting thing in this country, which one day I'll have a chance and then we can talk more, is the situation where you have the well-to-do sending their children to private, right?
Yeah.
Primary, junior high, and then coming to public.
Yes, in the senior high schools.
Yeah, and then they really upper middle income with a lot of money to spend, then say, oh, even those schools we don't want. So we are going to Galaxy, we are going to these schools, right? And because of curriculum and other decisions that parents have to make, and there's nothing wrong with it. But do not lump the private, so that we have 2 different private streams altogether.
I get your point.
And I always want people to understand that when we say private, we should not immediately look like the low level, or what you call the low tier, so to speak, private. And then you also have some private schools. Of course. Yeah. And I own one.
Okay.
I own one of them. Most of the students who come there, I pay their tuition to go there.
Really?
Yes. I recruit.
Your own school?
Oh, yes. Lakeview Senior High School.
You did not send students there?
No, of course not. I only have 24 students this year, and others are coming, and I have to talk to my friends in the US to pay their tuition for them.
Oh, okay.
So I'm one of those.
But it's not government money that you are using to take care of the school.
Of course not. Why would they use government money?
How would we be able to independently
Go there and verify. Of course, go there and verify. In all transparency.
Well, you're a politician, and that's what you guys do.
No. That is a huge mistake. There's a new political structure in Ghana today.
Really?
A new breed of politicians. Some of us not
see.
coming because of the largesse of the government machinery or the power and the authority that we came to serve.
So, I mean, so you didn't agree to send students to the private schools?
No.
Was it because there were no students available?
They are private. They are private.
So why do you,
if I send your student, your nephew, to a private school, who pays for it?
It should go to Presec. Why go to a private school?
Very good. So your nephew will go to Presec, right?
Yes.
So if I were to send your nephew
to a private school,
who pays for it?
You extend free SHS to the students there so that they can actually benefit from it.
Okay. Why is the private schools at the junior high school not free?
Well,
why are we not paying for it?
Because we've not gone there yet.
Yeah, very good. You see, you need to understand how public policy is made.
But public policy, as you explained it to be, is actually supposed to be a scholarship for the student. How are you making a scholarship for the school?
Public school. Let me tell you. Go to United States of America, the bastion of capitalism, right?
Yeah, but we are not a capitalist state.
Who told you? So,
oh, really?
Who told you? Talk about that. You have freedom of...
The aspirations of our constitution are pretty clear.
Who told you? We are not a socialist country.
The welfare state that we have today, okay,
I get told you?
We are a welfare state.
They have social interventions to help the less, the deprived.
Yes.
You see, so it's not a welfare state. All that I'm saying is this. If you look at what pertains in other countries,
okay,
when you have a public problem, you solve it with a public policy.
Okay.
And to the extent that the private sector can help you solve the public problem, you go in, you do your PPP or a private partnership arrangement, and you solve it, right? To the extent that the public sector itself can lift itself up and solve its problems, you do not turn to the private sector. You turn to the private sector in different ways because the impact of public policy supports the private sector. Look at Kumasi, for example, when there was a shortage of gari and chop box and trunk because of free senior high school. The private sector...
There was a shortage.
Of course. The private sector was a beneficiary.
We didn't report a
You see, you were not focusing on that.
Really?
You are not focusing
on that. We have a bureau in Kumasi. Yeah, there's no way we could have mixed up a story.
They made a mistake. At that time, all the cameras were on me. So they didn't get to talk about the gari problem. But all that I'm saying is that public policy is supposed to solve a public problem. Private schools, yes, they play a critical role in the education sector of this country. And I cannot even begin to tell you how grateful we are to them for what they do every day. Because I'm one of them too.
I don't know why we are still focusing on the school and not the student.
You see,
the student ceases to be a Ghanaian student if the person goes to a private school.
No, those who go to Galaxy don't cease to be Ghanaian students.
Yes.
They are still Ghanaian students.
Yes.
The parent opted to pay for it.
Yeah, but there are some who do not have the competence to pay for it who are still going to private schools.
Why should they? All students who were eligible for placement were placed by us.
In public schools?
Yes. So what is the point? So that's what I'm saying. A public policy solves a public problem. Okay. If we had a situation where we did our calculation and realized that the public schools cannot contain this, right? And then private school came, we called them, we talked and said, hey, public policy, can we do this to solve a public problem? That is where it comes in. But we do not solve a public policy problem, create a public policy just based on the fact that I don't want the private sector to suffer. No, that's not what we are talking about here.
I get your point.
What we need to always focus on is that we have a problem here, and if we go this route, we can solve the problem. And that is what you do. But it's not about the fact that we don't want Dr. Duchum's school to lose students. Therefore, even though the students have an opening and they can go to public high schools, we should immediately create an opportunity so that Dr. Duchum's school will be packed. No, that is not how you solve public problems. So all we are saying is that our doors are wide open. As I speak with you, there's a date scheduled on my calendar. And I'm going to be meeting with our private providers, secondary schools, developers, and
you've actually collapsed these schools.
No.
There are no students enrolling in these schools.
You'll be surprised. The surprise that I'm talking about is that.
Do they have students?
No, I mean, my school is getting students. Others are getting students. You have to market. You see, you are a private entrepreneur, and these people are good businessmen.
I see.
And that is why when we start talking in the media that we are collapsing the schools, these are good businessmen, and you'll be surprised what's going to happen.
They did a press conference and say the schools may collapse. Actually.
The schools may collapse, but now you go on TV and they are marketing. They are providing the alternatives. They are saying that school is able to offer this. And parents are rational enough to say that, okay, I don't mind. This school is close to me. My child may be able to go there. All that I'm saying is that you don't create a public, you don't solve a problem in the public domain by simply looking at the fact that if I don't do this, this will be the unintended consequence, and therefore let me go and do it, even though I'm not solving the problem.
Even for the political party whose ideologies are market-based, whose ideologies are for the protection of the and promoting of the private interest, is this particular conduct in sync with the MPP's ideological philosophy?
Let me tell you this. MPP is here to bring a transformation in education.
Is that the
and consequently, transformation of our country. If our children
how does the private sector play a key role in this particular sector? When you famish them of students, when you do not give them any support in the second place,
let me tell you this.
And leave them to die off.
Let me tell you this. We need to transform this country through education. And the government policy is free secondary education. For many, many years, people who were less underprivileged and did not happen to come from homes like mine or yours couldn't go to secondary schools. And this is what the policy is about, to lift people from places where they didn't want to be to a different destination. So that is what this policy is about. The policy is not about the fact that redistribute students across the private and public. That's not the policy. The policy is how do we make sure that every student get the opportunity to have secondary education or technical education or vocational education. That is the policy.
Is this idea and goal being achieved?
Of course.
And the evidence
I mean, when I went to St. Mary's Senior High and went to Great Kateko, Kaneshi, and look at the students and spoke with them and heard their stories, I left there believing that Nanado's vision is coming to fruition. It did not mean that there were no challenges in those two schools. But the idea that a student who would otherwise have not entered the gates of a secondary school is now there. That to me, you see, you cannot begin to understand this if you do not look at it through the eyes of a student.
I get your focus. So your focus also to say that whether you're poor, rich, or whichever category can go to school for free, and you still believe, and I think this government believes that's prudent use of state scarce resources.
Let me tell you, what we will see 10 years from now is when this country is transforming itself, because substantial proportion of our students are having tertiary education and they are having skills in order to move this country up. And that's the investment that we are making today. Okay, so when you talk about scarce resources, there's no other area.
You at best pushed over 150,000 more students to school. The 300 or so thousand that have been in school on their own regardless, because they go to school virtually every year. So that's what you're talking about, right?
No, but let me tell you, those who didn't go. You see, when you happen to be those who are part of the group that can go, you do not know how it feels to be left out. And so therefore, when we are telling,
don't take care of the left out.
Let me tell you, when we are telling these stories, we are just looking at students as numbers. But we are not looking at individual students and their aspirations in life that will come to nothing because they didn't get the opportunity. And the reason I'm passionate about this, I'm one of those students. I almost did not go to high school because my father could not even come out 40 cedis to pay my deposit. And I'm not here to talk about myself, so I'm not even going to tell you what a miracle sent me to senior high school. So I look at these students.
But would it not be more appropriate, mindful of your experience, to ensure that those who genuinely need the help get the help, and not to give it to iPhone-welding students who are probably richer than their colleagues who can pay 4 or 10 times even the school fees they are paying today?
You see, the mistake we all make is that we blame this rich guys, right?
Well, not blame.
No.
Sorry, it's not blame.
Because we seem to think that
I'm actually taking to tax a government that believes that everybody, regardless of your financial status, in the authoritative allocation of scarce state resources, should not in any way look out for, like it does with LEAP, like it does with indigent selection under the NHIS, target specific groupings who needs help most.
Let me tell you this. Once upon a time in this country, for 60 years, there was a scholarship program. For 60 years.
Yes, that's not in doubt.
No, for 60 years,
yes,
the governor, the deputy governor, the president of this, even if the person was a president, we did not exclude his or her son from a scholarship program that was in this country.
But doesn't make it right.
No. Let me tell you this, and nobody raised a finger.
Doc, it's
no.
It's not a justification.
No, it's not justification. But it's not a poor targeting. We did not target there. Let me tell you, you go to other countries around the world. You make a bold statement to the people that everybody can go. Let me tell you what is going on now.
You make a blanket statement.
No. You see, the mistake we are making is this: we behave as if we have the best means testing program in the world. What is going to happen is that the poor civil servant, whose salary we know, is the one whose son will be excluded from the program if we go by that approach that we are suggesting.
Really?
Yeah, because you see, the civil servant salary I know, and therefore it's easy for me to say your son do not qualify, right?
I get your point.
Then you go to the marketplace, the person who doesn't file his or her taxes, who probably is making more money than the civil servant, his child is going to go because we don't know his income. So you don't have a very good means testing program in the first place. But secondly, go to the second step.
The World Bank approved of a targeting mechanism for LEAP. The World Bank approved of our targeting. In fact, it rated as one of the best on the continent. How is it impossible? Except we are saying that.
Let me tell you this. All these so-called people that we are saying, why are we allowing them to go to school for free? Those are still the ones who contribute to the building of various structures you find in our schools. Go to Achimota. Go to what the parents are doing.
Sorry,
all that I'm saying is this: if the parents
can pay,
if they can, you see,
what's preventing you from allowing the parents to pay?
They are giving to the schools. They are giving to the schools. They are building structures.
You not allow them to pay PTA dues more than the 5 or so cities that you have allocated?
Nobody says that you can't donate to your school.
So they should make the money donations?
Of course.
I see.
Parents can donate to their schools, they can build, and they've been doing it over the years. All that we are saying is this: there was no means testing. Everybody should go. In various countries around the world where secondary education is free, everybody goes. No means testing. No means testing. We started the example of United States, where you even have a very good way. Everybody files taxes so you can mean test. Public school is public school. Everybody goes for free. We don't want this kid to go and he pays, the other person is not paying, and we are all in the public space. Public space, public secondary education, everybody is going and nobody pays. Parents who are well to do should make it, you see, and they do contribute to their schools and make sure that the schools' infrastructure and other things can be upgraded. There's nothing wrong with that.
This year, what percentage of the entire budget was for education?
We are now working on the budget.
No, in the 2018 budget. I'm talking about the 2017 budget.
No, in the light of all the news, I'll get you the figure. But in the light of all the amounts that are coming up, it's a flux situation. And within the next week, we're going to read that. I'll get you. You'll be the first person that I'll give the budget numbers to.
I get you, but I also want to be clear in my mind.
I don't want to do it.
The allocation in the budget for the year 2017 was 400 million Ghana cedis. I've heard that you are getting money from elsewhere because the deputy minister is adding some amount of money to it.
How much? Deputy minister?
Yes, the deputy minister of finance indicated that you are going to spend, 486 or so. Yes, but that's not what was budgeted for. That's stated on record. So where are you getting the 80,000 from?
Let me tell you. You said the deputy minister of finance.
Yes.
You see, one of the things that people are not talking about when it comes to free senior high school is that it includes everything. The amount that we are getting includes what we are spending on progressively free that was introduced under NDC, which we are continuing. It also includes the Northern Scholarship. Okay, so the net amount for free senior high school itself is always less than these amounts that we are talking about. So when you look at
Doc,
400,000.
the budget allocations were clear.
Yeah.
2 sources. They were stated clearly. They did not exceed the 400,000. I'm asking, where else are you getting the 80,000 to add up to the 400,000?
You said the deputy. Am I the deputy minister of finance? You said the deputy
You are
minister.
a deputy.
No,
Minister
I'm the deputy minister for education. I get the money and I spend it.
Oh,
So when you try to say that the deputy minister of finance is 418, you say 400. All that I know is that a certain amount of money was allocated.
how
to
much
us.
are you talking about?
The amount
That's
that
the
we stated,
400,000.
the 400,000 was allocated for the purposes of making
Who
sure.
took the decision to add 80,000 to it?
You are telling me something. You are saying that is the deputy minister for finance.
Yes.
And then you turn around.
I'm
All that I'm
asking
saying,
you,
all that I'm
because,
saying
I mean,
is,
it might be a request from your own department.
All that I'm saying is that when you look at requests for free senior high school,
Yes.
right, the amount of money allocated to it, there are also other education expenditures, right, that are not necessarily part of free senior high school.
So the 80,000 is not part of the free senior high school?
No, I'm not saying that. All that I'm telling you is that when we say free senior high school,
Okay.
let me tell you what I know.
I get you.
When we say,
can you tell me where the money is coming from? Can
When
you
we
tell
say
me?
government of Ghana,
Yes, I know, but
that.
where
So,
exactly? Because some plans have to lose money for this money to come in. Where is the money coming from?
Where's the money
The
coming from?
additional 80,000.
From 80,000.
Yes. I'm talking about the 480,000 in this case. The additional 80,000 that's not budgeted for according to the 2017 budget. Where is the 80,000 coming from?
I will find out for you where it is coming from.
Okay, but the other question, sorry.
All that
sorry,
I'm trying to tell you.
The other question, forgive me, Doc.
You don't mean you don't mean 80,000, 80 million. You mean 80 million, not 80,000.
Yeah, 80 million, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
80,000 is a
Way
small.
too-
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So all that I'm saying is this: when we talk about free senior high school, right, invariably, and the amount that's allocated to it, is the free senior high school is a component of the secondary education expenditure, right? Because what is going on is that the free senior high school have now absorbed other expenditures that were already being done, which could still have been spent whether there was free senior high school or no
I
free
get your
senior
point.
high
I
school.
understand it perfectly.
So the amount, the net amount on the free senior high school policy is always less than what you see here.
I have no
because of the
difficulties with
Northern
that.
Scholarship and because of the secondary,
I have no
progressive
difficulties
rate.
with
Yeah.
that. To date, what percentage of the amount of money is required for the implementation of the free SHS program for the first time has been released to the various schools?
20%.
Still 20
It's still 20
for the first time?
for the first time.
When the term is
But
actually, we are in November.
You see, one of the things that
The 20% was supposed to be
you see-
proud to the
No,
commencement
but-
of the
but-
year.
but you see-
You waited till the year actually gone into.
my brother,
But
we are
of course,
dealing with education finance, and let me explain it. I know a little bit about education finance. so allow me to explain. You see, what is going on is this. There are some expenditures that are going to be incurred centrally.
okay.
The schools are not going to incur those costs at the local level. So when you look at food, for example, the food items that are being supplied through buffer stock, the money is not going to the schools for them to pay buffer stock.
I get your point.
That amount, which may be about maybe 40% of the monies that are going to them, will have to be paid directly from the Ministry of Education to buffer stock.
Is it only
So at the end of the day, even though we are talking about 20% with them now, if you look at expenses that they've incurred in terms of food supplies, we may have already have 60% gone.
okay?
Okay? So
is
it's
it
not as
only
if they are being starved.
20% that you envisaged giving to the schools?
No.
What
What we are
percentage were
doing
you
is this.
expected to give to the schools?
What we are doing is this.
Doc.
At this stage,
Yes.
let me go through the process so that your audience will understand.
Yeah, okay,
that
but you
under-
ask a
see-
simple
you
question.
see,
You answer my questions, but we'll
no,
get there.
No.
I want
All
to
that
know
I'm saying is
what
this.
percentage were you supposed to give
I
the schools
said-
by now?
I said we have 20%.
Given already?
And yes, given already.
Yes.
And what we are doing at this stage is that the schools are submitting their returns. Because you're
was that all
funding-
the amount of money that you were supposed to give them?
No.
What percentage were you supposed to give them?
No, at this stage, we felt 20% would be enough.
Okay, still-
because
Okay.
because they don't have to buy a lot of the foodstuffs from the 20%. See, if they were doing those expenditure from the 20%, it wouldn't be enough.
Okay.
But because they are not spending the 20% on food, which is the major expenditure item, they are not cash strapped. You see, that is why
I get your point.
That is why,
and the demands may come on school by school basis, and I get that particular.
So
point.
that is why the headmistress, who was speaking from Kaleo, was saying, "I have the money," right? Which is a good thing. All that we are saying is this.
She knows what to do with the money, but she has no guidelines on how to use the money. And that's an indictment on the ministry.
No.
Because she's not giving the guidelines. They insist on guidelines.
Are you
they
sure?
said you gave them leaflets that contain virtually nothing.
Are you sure?
Yes, they said you gave them leaflets.
You can show me one of the leaflets. You travel on evidence, right?
Yes.
And you are sitting here saying, did they give you a copy they gave you a copy of the leaflet?
No, they said you gave them leaflets.
Next time, ask them to give you a copy of the leaflet so that you can dangle it in front of me and say, Minister, here's the leaflet. Here's the leaflet.
You heard
all that I'm saying.
You heard the
all that I'm saying is
you heard the Kaleo SHS headmistress. She was very clear in her mind. She didn't know what to do with the money. It's not as if she doesn't actually have any need for it.
We have. And that's one thing. When I went to Ho, right, and met the headmasters, we gave them the list of all the items that we are paying for. Every one of them. So I'm not here. Headmasters are so hardworking. So I'll not come on a show like this and say something negative about any of them.
You say they don't understand. What you're saying is that they don't understand the guidelines.
I never said that. You
but
said
if you give them a list,
no,
and
we gave them a list.
The woman is waiting.
You see?
No.
All that I'm saying is that when it comes to financial administration, we need to do a better job. In
the
terms
ministry?
Of course. We as a ministry have to do a better job in terms of training people about financial administration.
Training headmistress and headmasters.
Everybody. Before you even become
But you don't train me. I mean,
before you even become a headmaster.
Okay. So training the staff of the GES in this particular area.
Of course.
So that they don't misconstrue what they're supposed to do with the guidelines.
Of course.
Okay, I get your point.
All that I'm saying is this. When you have line items, right? All that the items that expense that you can't commingle, right? For example, when you look at teacher motivation as an expense item, you cannot take teacher motivation money and use this for any other thing. You cannot commingle that. When you look at development levy, it's to improve the school. The board of governors of the school should be able to decide that this is what we are going to use this money for. Okay, so you don't do any commingling. You don't add it up to go and fix the car or furniture that is broken because there's a line item for furniture maintenance. But you may have a situation where you have allocated furniture maintenance, right? You've allocated examination fee. We've paid for all those items. It's not exams time yet, right? So you don't have a need for that amount right now.
So you can use it for something else.
So you can use it for something else.
And it will not be misapplication
of
funds.
No, because when the money comes for example, if you have 20% and you have furniture that is broken and have to fix, right? You can fix that. But you know that the next tranche of money that comes, there should be enough money to also do your examination.
What is the biggest need on the grounds today?
The biggest needs on the ground in terms of schools, right?
Yeah.
Every school is different. There are some schools where you
Cumulatively,
what
is the biggest need?
The need that we are getting more through the media like yours is furniture issues, for example.
Furniture.
And also some will say we will need more better facilities in terms of accommodation.
Okay, let me ask this question, a very direct question.
Sure.
Did you build all of the day schools places where their single meal could actually be had? So, canteens where they could eat. Did you build them?
I mean, there's some schools that may have that, but no.
Sorry, did you build all of them?
Of course not.
How many did you build?
You mean structures?
Yes.
I mean, come on, let me tell you.
The Director General of the GES sat in the same seat and said, in July, by the time they get to the end of the year, they would have actually, the start of the free SHS program, they would have completed those structures. I'm asking you, months into this particular program, did you build all of these structures?
No, you just have to be innovative. You see, to me, if you can cook good food, you can eat in the classroom.
They should eat in the classroom?
Of course. You see, let me tell you this.
Was that the agreement? Was that the agreement? Sorry, was that the agreement?
I'm just saying that if the facility is not there, good food, nutritious food, that will allow the kids to study.
You know the number of senior high schools in the country.
Why not?
How many did you build this particular sheds?
You mean basic schools?
I'm talking about the senior high schools.
Senior high schools.
The day students who are guaranteed a single meal a day. I'm asking you, how many did you build them?
I'm happy to know that food is being served, my friend.
That's all that you're interested in?
Of course.
Where they eat doesn't matter.
Let me tell you. Come to even in the United States.
Was it a decision?
No, let me tell you. It's not about a decision. You enter an environment, right, where you are trying to create opportunity for all. There are going to be challenges.
Yes.
And we have considered that.
Yeah,
so
I agree with you.
I'm not going to
so
sit
I'm
here
asking
and
you to tell me the number of...
I don't
were
have
you
the
able
number.
To build any?
I don't have the number, and I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. All that I'm telling you is that when I was a day student,
yes.
I wish somebody could have handed me a plate of food and said,
so like eating in the classroom.
Are you serious? I would have jumped up and down and sang hallelujah. Are you serious? Maybe you've never been a day student. When you're a day student and you see the body's going to eat, right?
Yeah.
You say to yourself, can you hand me a plate? I will eat anywhere that you ask me to eat. That is not to say that we should not have those facilities. But all that I'm telling you is this. This is the beginning.
I get you.
This is the beginning.
Because of my time, what has been done specifically in the area of quality of education improvement? I know there were quality issues that you also lined up to improve. Specifically, what has been done in that area?
I mean, we just began, right?
When you say we just began, most people say that nothing has been done.
We just began our political term. But all that I'll tell you is this. When you talk about quality of education in this country, it's bad.
I agree.
Secondary education is a mess.
I agree.
What we have begun are the following. We are looking at creating a robust remedial programs across the schools.
No, but
intervention.
See,
intervention.
Listen, one of the things I do is distill political language. What we have begun is we are looking at creating. What does that even mean?
Let me tell you this.
You've not begun anything.
I don't
you
come
are saying you are looking at creating.
Let me tell you.
That's really nothing.
Maybe you study political propaganda. I'm not one of those people I'm not one of those. Let me tell you, when it comes to education, I don't use political mumbo jumbo kind of language. Because you see,
has been done?
education.
I want to know tangible things that have been done.
Let me tell you this. I have personally been in meetings with headmasters of low-performing schools.
Yes.
We have begun a process where we are doing self-study. Self-study.
What does that mean?
Self-study is when the school looks at its performance, right? Look at all the things that they're doing. Look at the history of the school, the record over the last 5 years, subject areas where they are failing, where they are doing well, and begin to say that, you know what, we have a major math problem in this school. And therefore, we need to mobilize all stakeholders around
They are now doing it.
Yes, I'm going through trainings with them.
But why is there a school not supposed to do this? Which headmaster, properly so-called, cannot look at their own data and say that you are failing in this area?
Which school did you go to?
Boys Secondary School.
Okay, Presec. That day, right?
Yes, that day.
Okay, yeah. So you guys are fortunate. You go to Presec. you see, no. Let me tell you, my brother.
Yes.
You see, those of you who are fortunate to go to...
you are still diverting the matter.
I'm not diverting. Let me finish.
This is not any major improvement in the life of a headmaster.
Are you serious?
For them to look at their own data.
Are you serious? When you have 0%...
The person is not qualified to be a headmaster if alone review their own data.
Okay.
As inconsistently.
I'm glad you are joining my train.
I agree.
We agree.
Yes.
We agree. But that is what is going on.
That's been done now.
My brother.
So that is the quality thing that this government is doing now.
What we are looking at is even to create awareness. You can walk into a senior high school, right? Media should do your work.
Yes.
Go there and ask top administrators and say how many of your students were able to make it in terms of hard A1 to C6 and are eligible for tertiary.
Okay,
you'll be shocked. All that I'm telling you,
let me be more direct with this question.
Do not just take Presec and Achimota, those that are doing well, and think that all other schools are doing well, and therefore they have the same practices.
Now, let me get to you. What are you doing in terms of teacher quality improvement to improve teaching and learning in classrooms, specifically on this SHS program?
For example, headmasters are being trained, teachers are being trained. They are major retraining, and thank God for low-performing schools. Where are they being trained?
Yes.
I mean,
they're in the classrooms. Where are they going to be trained? Are they taking breaks?
No, before school started, math and science.
This school year?
Of course.
There's already a math and science program the previous government started.
That's not the program. We are continuing.
Oh, that's why I'm continuing.
Of course. We are continuing. Why not?
I want the Akufo-Addo-led administration's program, not what has been done previously.
Let me tell you, the Akufo-Addo-led administration is saying every school must understand where they stand right now.
So you are back to this
so you have, yes. You see, let me tell you. You will be frustrated as a media guy.
Yes,
you are paid to ask questions.
Telling me is repeating
you are paid to ask questions, but sometimes you give a minute to the person who is in the trenches to also explain certain things to you, so that at the end of the probably offline, let's talk and begin to appreciate the extent of the problem. Okay. When you appreciate the extent of the problem, you will really begin to appreciate the steps that we are taking. Because you really have to go to step 1 and begin to look at what went wrong. Why is it that 0% of students who are passing the WASSCE do not obtain the grades that will enable them to go to any tertiary institution?
Okay.
My brother, we are in a crisis situation.
I get you.
And
I agree with the crisis situation.
But if you don't,
I want 2 minutes to ask this question because I have 3 minutes to end the show.
Okay.
The first question I'm asking in these 3 minutes is what's currently the case now. The former Deputy Minister of Education is accusing the Ministry of Education and the specific minister that you made misrepresentation and said that it never paid for the progressively free education program. Was there monies paid and released for the progressively free education program?
Let me tell you this. I'm not the one who believes in political spinning. Any question that you ask me, I'll research it, I'll get back to you. I will be able to break it down. I was not in government then. But I'll be able to research it. Yeah, I'm in government now.
Sorry.
So I'll be able to research.
For the first term of the progressively free SHS program, was there 12.78 million Ghana cedis actually covering the period of September to December 2015 released?
Let me tell you.
I want to know specifically.
No. I will not give anything that I've not researched on.
You don't know what your minister said?
I don't operate that way.
It's not communication from the ministry?
Nope. Let me tell you this. You ask me a question,
yes.
I'll give you the answer, but I'm not going to, if this is the first time you're asking me.
Was there a second release of 17 million?
We have done a lot of releases. I have a schedule. I can send it to you. You can take a look at it. But I'm not going to, within a period of 30 seconds, tell you something.
Did the NDC pay for the progressively free program?
Of course, when we came, there were arrears.
There were arrears.
Astounding issues, major issues. But all that I'm saying is this.
Did the NDC pay anything at all for the progressively free program?
I'll have to check. I'll ask my staff to research it for me. I'm not going to come here and get you fast checking me. So okay. I don't spin. I don't do spinning.
I get you. I get you. And I respect that.
I give credit where credit is due.
I respect that.
If a previous government did something, I'm not going to sit here and say,
like you said on the secondary education improvement program, I respect that.
I'm not going to sit here and say because the previous government, I must hate them enough to say that I'm not going to check my facts.
How much has the Ministry of Education budgeted for the free SHS program next year?
Next year, we're going to cover 3 terms.
Yes.
Okay? So when you look at the 400, it's going to be about 1.2.
Yes.
Yeah, because we now have 3 terms, the full year of free. So it's around that ballpark figure in terms of the amount that we expect.
But you've already had your budget hearings. I'm asking, how much have you actually budgeted for it?
I said we budgeted for 3 terms.
I get you. Is it the same amount of money? Say 400 million, or you budgeted more or less than that?
No, around the same figure.
You can't give me specifics?
No.
I want to do my computation and hear the budget hearing and compare.
I will give you the numbers. The budget is being put together. You send your numbers. They will cap it. They will do some other things. I will get you the figure once it's approved by finance and you look at it. So
it's not been approved.
No,
we understand it's going to be read next week.
Of course, the ministry puts its budget together. You do reconciliation. You do other things. Give me some time.
Okay.
I'll get you the right figures. The figures will align wherever the Minister of Finance will read in Parliament. So I don't want to sit here and give you a figure and say, oh, Dr. Dichum said this. The Minister of Finance also said something different. Wait for the budget reading. You get that exact number.
Rounding up.
Yes, sir.
When this free SHS program is supposed to be sustained, what is going to be done to sustain it?
I think that the president has made it very clear that his focus is, his eyes are on the ball.
He won't be president forever, actually.
He will not be president, but he's laying a foundation for the socio-economic transformation of Ghana. And that is the opportunity he has, and he's using it well. He said that the mineral resources of this nation will be committed to the implementation of secondary education. I believe him. This is a determined man. He was able to get some of us who were in America doing our own thing to come back and support his vision of transforming education in this country. I believe him, and we're going to work out the numbers. Wait till the budget is read, and all your questions will be answered. I'm not the Minister for Finance, and I do not want to take the wind from his sails. Well, so wait, and you'll get your numbers, and we'll have a nice time that day when the budget is read.
Well, folks, my guest today is Dr. Oseya Aduchum. He's Member of Parliament for Bosomtwe and also Deputy Education Minister in charge of the secondary sector. In fact, free SHS is baby. So we can tie the nice ribbons on this show today, and thank you so much for joining us on this particular day's edition of UPfront. Doc, I thank you for coming.
And thank you. You did your job very well as the media guy.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on today's edition of UPfront.